The first step to making sourdough bread is making sourdough starter. Starter is a natural leavening agent, which means it will help the bread rise. The science behind this is a little more complicated, which you can learn more about in the linked blog post. Before we begin, the first thing you want to do is weigh your jar and write down the weight for future reference. To the jar, add 100 grams of lukewarm water that is about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 29 Celsius. I like to add the water first because it makes mixing easier. Lots of people believe that starter works by capturing the yeast from the air, which isn't true. It's the flour that contains the yeast and gets things all active. That's why choosing unbleached flour is necessary, otherwise it won't ferment properly. I'm starting my starter off with 100 grams of stone ground rye flour. Now you just want to mix that until everything is completely incorporated and fully hydrated. Closing and sealing the lid will essentially create a bomb, so instead I'm adding a piece of paper towel to the top. This will stop anything unwanted from falling into the starter. And he kinda ends up with a cool cake. I would suggest adding a label not only to keep track of how much growth has happened, but when you started the starter. That was a bit of a tongue twister. That's all you have to do for day one, let the starter rest for 24 hours. Just like that, it's 24 hours later and you can see this boy is pretty active due to all the bubbles. It's now feeding time, which means we're going to take out most of the mature starter, leaving only 70 grams in this instance, and add fresh flour and water. This helps replace yeast and bacteria, which keeps the starter alive and healthy. We're changing it up a little this time, and instead we're going to add 70 grams of rye flour and 70 grams of unbleached wholemeal flour. Water temperature stays the same, but the amount increases to 140 grams. And it's done. See you in 24 hours. 24 hours later and here we are. I'm going to say this once and once only, do not throw out your discard. It can be used to make so many things, pizza dough, waffles, English muffin. Repeat the same process as the feeding the day before. Here's a quick recap of what that looks like. And off to bed. Instead of having to continually repeat myself and show the same thing over and over, you're going to continue this feeding schedule for 7 days. The sourdough starter has had its final feeding on the 7th day, and as you can see, it's well and truly doubling in size. This means it's very active and ready to bake with. Now you've got a healthy starter. Let me know if you want a maintenance video and a video on how to cook sourdough bread.